All right. Well, thank you. Thanks, John and Jake. Jake for running the slide, and I'll just tell you the next one when I'm done talking. And thanks for everybody coming out and watching. I appreciate it. I have been doing some work on Nolan's cross, and I came across some interesting numbers in the cross, and it made me realize that most likely that it was Francis Bacon who designed it. And I'll tell you why as we get going here. But no disrespect to Fred Nolan and Tom Nolan, but I kind of renamed it Bacon's Cross because I think he was the original designer of Nolan's Cross. So go ahead and click the next one, Jake. By the way, Erin Helton is in the chat. So she designed this great LiDAR, very high tech, advanced LiDAR for everybody. And she was nice enough to share it with some of us, and I'm using that tonight. And you can see how clear and nice it is. So I want to thank Erin Helton for sharing that with us to use as researchers to help us. This is a picture of Nolan's Cross. I've got some bearings there. For those who don't know, you see the cones labeled. Cone A is at the top. Cone B is at the bottom, where that long blue trench is. Cone C on Nolan's Beach is cone C up there. Then you have D and E down below here, where the 240 is. Now, the stem of the cross going to the northeast is 60 degrees. In the opposite direction, you have 240. That's the bottom of the stem going to the southwest. From cone B heading out into Jerdy's Cove, that is 330 degrees for the arm. And then heading back towards the southern part of the island, down near the corner of the swamp, the southeast corner, it's 150 degrees. So it makes a perfect cross. Those are the numbers that are heading in each direction between the cones, and there are 5 cones. Go ahead, Jake. And there they are right there for you to see. So from top to bottom and from the arms, those are the degree bearings that for Nolan's Cross. Now, Jacob has talked about some of Bacon's numbers, but for me tonight, I am just going to talk about a simple cipher, which uses the Elizabethan alphabet at the time. It only has 24 characters, unlike ours today that has 26. They used I and J together as just a capital I. So a capital J would look just like a capital I. And for U and V, they just wrote a capital V. So that would stand for a V and a U at that time. So there's 24 characters, A being 1 and so forth, counting to Z as being 24. Go ahead, Jake. Now, at this time, many of these men, including Francis Bacon, they were big into finding the sum of their names. And it was very easy for them to hide code, hide messages in their writings by having a certain word with their name, not their name, but with their number. So Francis, using the simple cipher above, would be the number 67. And then Bacon, using the simple cipher, is number 33. And we see that a lot, and he used that a lot. So you could have another word possibly in as a mistake, like Jake said, in a strange area in the writing, or something that has the same number as 67 or 33. Okay. In fact, the Fama has a very strange word called Gaza, G-A-Z-A. I didn't put this in my presentation, but it has the number 33. I mean, so it was their way of expressing that might be an important word in the Fama Fraternitatis. So, in the Rosicrucian document. So, they use this, and for today, I just want to say that Francis Bacon's numbers, for Francis is 67, and Bacon is 33. And together, they add up to 100. And I'd also like to point out, too, he does use his birth date of January 22nd. That'd be 122, and those numbers. So they pop up as 122 sometimes in the writing. So anyways, we're just going to stick with 67, 33, and 122 for tonight. And I want to show you some aspects of the cross and why I think this is centered around Francis Bacon. Go ahead, Jake. Okay, so the first one I found that made me look at this a little bit closer and suspect that Francis Bacon was part of this is that from cone E to cone C directly is actually 33 degrees. This started it all. This is the first one I noticed. It is exactly 33 degrees. Thank you to Erin for her LiDAR. It makes it very precise. And from cone E to cone C is exactly 33 degrees. So that would be Bacon. So that is only one. So you can imagine all these different angles and lines and distances between the cones. It's amazing, but they all have certain numbers that relate to Francis Bacon. Go ahead, Jake. Now, this one right here is quite interesting. Now, in gematria or numerology at the time, 0 is null, so that can be eliminated. 0 has no value, so they could eliminate the 0 in numbers and still have the same meaning. So in this case, I told you from cone E to cone A that it was 60 degrees, and from cone B to cone C, heading out to Jerdy's Cove, is 330 degrees. Well, in a way, that spells Francis Bacon, because in that simple cipher, in that Elizabethan alphabet, the 6th letter is F. And then Bacon is 33. So in a way, it's a signature saying F. Bacon, Francis Bacon. Okay, Jake. Furthermore, from the angle from the stem from cone A to cone C is exactly 67 degrees. This is the number for Francis, 67. So, in other words, using the stem, you can see the green going down the stem of the cross, and then the angle from cone A to cone C, that creates a 67 degree angle perfectly. Right on from cone A down. Again, so from cone A to cone B, it is also 67 degrees. Now this would have to be very precise. And the chances of this happening are pretty slim as a coincidence as just a look of the draw. It would have to be precisely drawn out and created using these numbers. It would take an astronomer, it would take an engineer, it would take several workers to move things in spots. It would take some highly intelligent people on the island to move these boulders in certain spots, special locations to make these alignments. Here's some astronomy that I've looked at. Now this is looking to the south. This is looking from cone A all the way down the stem, 240 degrees through cone D, cone E, on Francis Bacon's birthday. The day, January 22nd. It's not the date that's correct. The reason why I chose 1570 is because there was a calendar change. Now, that was 1582. Anytime before 1582, the astronomy changes a little bit till after. The Julian calendar was used before that time. And what happened was in 1582, Pope Gregory decided to make a new calendar. And he did this because Easter was falling so far out of alignment with the calendar that he had to do something. At that time, in fact, the solstices for the winter and summer solstice were so far out of range that it was not even close to what it is today. In fact, we just had our spring solstice or spring equinox, but today we know that the summer solstice is June 21st. Well, back then, before the calendar change, it had fallen so far out of its normal date that it was actually June 12th or June 11th. So you can see why the Pope was trying to regulate the calendar from that time. And actually, his calendar is not perfect either. Several years into the future, we're going to have to change our calendar again, too. So it's just a calendar thing. So I use this because I wanted to show you what January 22nd, the sun looks like setting down the stem of the cross. I think the cross was set up on a stem to highlight his birth date of January 22nd. But as you can see, using the old calendar, it really doesn't fit. It's maybe 5 degrees above the horizon, and it doesn't really set too close to the end of that red line. So go ahead and hit the next one, Jake. Now this is using the newest calendar, which is the Gregorian calendar that we use today. I have a date of 1670, which is well after the 1582 date. As you can see, the January 22nd falls very, very closely to the end of that red line. Now, it's hard to say exactly what they were looking for, whether if it's a true setting sun, just an orange sky, or were they looking to have that sun just 2 degrees above the horizon, looking down it, so the full sun would be above the horizon. So it's hard to tell, but it's only 2 degrees off. And in this sense, the sun is passing that the stem of the cross. It's not before it, but it is very close. So I think I came to the conclusion that whoever created Nolan's cross, or if it was Bacon, it would have to be after 1582 using the newest calendar, Gregorian calendar. Now, the problem is Britain, being a Protestant country, they did not switch their calendar after. They did not switch it until 1756, when Britain changed over to the Gregorian calendar. It was only the Catholic countries that did it, because Pope Gregory being the Pope. So that would be France. France would have been one of those countries that did switch to the new calendar. So this might be a connection, a French connection with Bacon. This is really important that maybe it was the French that were doing the work for Bacon in creating this cross for him. Go ahead, Jake. Now, you're going to see a couple dates. I did a whole setting and rising sun for 1 year at the island, and this is part of that table. You can see the actual bearing, the sun rises, sun sets, what time. But there are some strange dates that have opposites. Now, throughout the year, the sun really doesn't cover the whole horizon. It only covers a certain degree. Now, and that is between the summer solstice and the winter solstice each year. And the sun goes back and forth twice to each point in between. So you have the sun going from the summer solstice to the winter solstice, and then you have it going back for those next 6 months. So it hits each bearing I guess, on the horizon twice. So the opposites of those are quite interesting that I've found. I learned a lot by doing it. One of those is January 22nd. Now you're going to see over to the left there, you're going to see a lot of number 1s and 2s in those 3 dates. You see January 19th, but you see January 20th, January 21st, and you see January 22nd with 1s and 2s. Now you look to the right, on the opposite time of the year, in the fall, the sun would set very close to that stem of the cross, where you're going to see November 22nd, November 21st, and November 20th. Again, lots of 1s and 2s. So that could be a reason for the 2 times having 1s and 2s that would highlight that January 22nd date. So I would like to highlight that November 22nd, 11 and 22. Now those 2 numbers are significant, and I can't really get into it tonight, but they are bacon related, 11 and 22, through math. And it's really quite interesting, but I can't really get into it tonight. But just so you know, on the next slide, that the sun sets very closely, even closer than January 22nd. It sets very closely down the stem of that cross. So 11/22, November 22nd, seems like the date that he is highlighting down the stem. So it's kind of weird that January 22nd and November 22nd both come very close to setting at the end of that line. Now, like I said, the November 22nd sun is very close. I mean, it is like 2 degrees or less above the horizon. It would have been a straight shot, and it would have been beautiful to see if that was his intent. So that could be a reason why the stem of the cross is 240 degrees on the island.